This is the Paltalk News Network.
The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on Blip TV and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not. No retribution. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. I welcome you to the show, and I remind you and encourage you to go to our news site, PaltalkNewsNetwork.com. Go early, go often, just like voting in Chicago, to read stories that you may or may not see, hear, or read in the mainstream media. A wonderful analysis there today into the causes of the drug war that's going on in Mexico and overflowing our borders, which is a contributing issue to the one that we are going to be discussing here today. We actually have a number of stories there that talk about the Arizona immigration law, and there is an analysis there by contributor Daniel Baumgarten. Yes, he is related to me. That talks about how we are giving up many of our rights through some of the legislation that is being proposed in Congress. And I think it's heartening, even if he weren't my son, to see young people get involved in the process and provide the kind of analytical view of what's really happening. There are those who have given up on that generation, and I'm pleased to say that there's at least one person I know from that generation who hasn't given up on us. So the question du jour, and I want to thank everybody who are on cam. A lot of people on cam today, and that's very cool. And for those of you who are listening to us via CRN Digital Talk Radio or through one of our many marvelous internet radio affiliates, and in one case, internet television affiliate, ASI. If you want to participate in this interaction and see all the lovely people on cam and maybe shine a light on your own Shana Poonam, go to PaltalkNewsNetwork.com, PaltalkNewsNetwork.com. At the top, there's a Join the Chat button. Click on that, and you will be instantly transported to the Paltalk News Network room on Paltalk.com. There is no charge. Well, as anybody who lives on this side of the moon is aware, the state of Arizona has passed an immigration law that is intended to supersede basically federal law, which puts the responsibility of determining if people who are among us are here legally or illegally, documented or undocumented, on the backs of the federal government. And local law enforcement is not permitted to enforce those laws unless in the investigation of another illegal event, they determine that an individual with whom they have come into contact is here illegally. In other words, they can't go and rouse people based on suspicion. Well, this law would allow local law enforcement to do so. I say would allow because although it has been passed and signed into law, it actually doesn't take effect for 3 months. Today, Janet Napolitano, who is the Homeland Security Secretary and a former governor of the state of Arizona, told the Senate Judiciary Committee that the Justice Department has those 3 months to review whether the law violates parts of the U.S. Constitution, as some are alleging. Napolitano says that there are concerns over the law because it will, quote, detract from and siphon resources that we need to focus on those in the country illegally, those who are committing the most serious crimes in addition to violating our nation's immigration laws, close quote. I don't know if local law enforcement stops somebody who they believe to be in the country illegally and arrests them, how that siphons resources away. And I guess what she is saying here is we don't care if they're here illegally unless they commit a serious crime. Not unless they commit a crime, unless they commit a serious crime in addition to being here illegally. Interestingly, even though it's mainly the Republicans that have been pushing for this, House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer today, he's a Democrat, of course, from Maryland, that the bill that was signed into law by Governor Jan Brewer in Arizona last week was an attempt by Arizona and its residents to tell Congress that they are tired of waiting for federal action. Steny Hoyer says that basically the Arizona immigration bill is a wake-up call to Congress. And maybe it is. I, as a former president, Bill Clinton would say, feel the pain of the people of Arizona. But there's another issue here, and that is, does this bill promote racial profiling? Does this bill promote the stopping of people, not just non-citizens, but citizens as well, by the police as they go about their duty, go about whatever they are doing, even though they are not acting in an illegal manner? Is it right for them to stop somebody and demand identification? And P.S., there is no law in the United States of America that requires you to carry identification. So what if you are a Mexican American, for example, who was born in the United States, is a citizen of the United States, and you're walking down the street in Phoenix, and the police pull you over or stop you and demand that you produce identification to prove that you are a citizen? Does this not sound reminiscent of what the Nazis did in Europe? You had to have identification papers in order to travel. If you were stopped without identification papers, they rounded you up. I mean, there are concerns here, and I think that they are legitimate, that it opens up to all kinds of abuses. Now, I'm not saying that it's ill-intentioned by any stretch of the imagination, but you know what they say about the road to hell. It's paved with good intentions. Now, not everybody is concerned about this, and interestingly, in the Huffington Post today, which of course is a liberal/progressive site on the internet, Clarence Jones, who